Yo, what is up, people? Welcome back to the Mindset Effect podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that's relatively special to my heart, I guess. So some of you might know yesterday, my grandmother died. And so that might sound like really
Isn't
terrible.
grandmother?
Yeah. hmm
I thought you said
Yeah.
grandfather.
Because on the show, it was the Uncle Ah show. And so everybody talks about him a lot of the time because the brand is built mostly around him. Um, but basically, this is not going to turn out to be as sad of a podcast as it might sound. um, but so yeah, she died yesterday, and I've received so many messages from like random strangers. If you like go online and you look up Captain Wendy or her name, you'll see tons of people just talking about it. So the backstory here is, my grandpa and grandma had a TV show that they did together. It was a kids show, and got really big. It's been inducted into Hall of Fames in America. It's one of the I think it's like the second longest running show that's ever been in America or something like that. So really cool stuff. And so, there was a lot of impact that they created, a lot of kids' lives that they changed. I think like George Clooney, if you know who that is, was on the show in like age 8 or something. So like really crazy
Isn't he?
people.
Wait, he's the actor, right?
Yeah, he's the
Okay.
really famous actor. But yeah, so like a lot of really crazy impact. And so the idea here and the topic here is, live a life where you have a massive impact. Don't just live a life where, you're just one of the billions out there. Live a life that when you die, the entire world is, has such a heartthrob over what they lost. Look at what happened when Kobe died. The whole world went berserk and it was so sad. And like, that's the kind of life that personally that I want to live. It's like I want to create impact to that level.
That's interesting. I thought about that. It's like it sounds good, leaving this impact, like being remembered by a lot of people. I think that sounds great, but I think it just depends on, like we say, always your ambition, right? You don't have
Mhm.
to leave a huge impact. Do what you feel you can do, and just do that. I don't know. I guess to me, like, leaving a legacy that, like a lot of people are mourn over, like, I don't really give a shit about that. I just care about like the impact, like sometimes you can make a huge impact, but no one like will know who you are. It's like the people that
Mhm.
died in war, right? Like so many heroes that fall in war, like they're remembered by like a few people, but like no, like a lot of people don't actually know the true impact. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's
And
like it's not chasing, the post-mortem fame. Like what's the point of post-mortem fame? Like you're dead. Like no one gives a shit. Like it's
Mhm.
like it's actually just making an impact right now. That's
Mhm.
that's really what matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
I
I think
guess
it's
and I
like,
guess and I guess and I guess if what you do is important enough, like a lot of people will like naturally mourn over you. Like I feel like a lot of these people like that are remembered, like they didn't like go, they didn't uh they didn't they didn't try to do that. Like they just happened. They just did something important enough that a lot of people remember them. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it goes along the lines of what we always kind of beat into people's heads. Like, do what you want to do, be who you want to be. But I think this is like a really important example of, you can change millions of lives. One individual can make insane change on this planet. And so like, if that's something that you want to do, use that as encouragement to be like, I can actually go out and do that. Um, and I know for me, like, this is something that really pushes me is, I like having like an impact hundreds of years after I die is something that's really important to me. I want to create change to that level. And again, that's not something that everyone else wants to do. But like, that's an end goal that I will take steps to achieve. And I think there are a lot
how
of
are you
young,
gonna do that?
ambitious people.
How do you think you're gonna do that?
I think,
Because I to do something like that, you have to like make something revolutionary. You have to
mhm,
do something that's huge.
exactly. And that's why I want to move into industries, like that's why I like tech. I want to move into industries that are, future based, like things like AI, like virtual reality, augmented reality, like huge things where there are going to be massive breakthroughs in the next 20 to 30 years. I want to go into these industries to increase my odds of developing something like that. Like I always talk about, I think being a teacher would be super fun. Like it'd be a fantastic career, but in my mind, it doesn't create impact to the level that I want. And I think teachers change tons of lives. But for me, I really have a big desire of I want to change billions of lives.
You know, when I think of teachers, I just think of like not enough money.
I
I'm
mean,
not a good teacher.
yeah. I mean, that's the sad part is like, I don't know. Teachers are really underappreciated, I think.
Mm-hmm. Especially good teachers. Actually, no, good teachers make a lot of money though. Not
Depends, I
like
think.
school teachers. I mean like teachers. You know, like
Hmm.
mentors. You know, that sort of thing. If you're a
Hmm.
good mentor, like you make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think that, like, the general idea in this episode is like, find the person that you want to be. The same as like all, as what we always say. To go after that, like use that as encouragement to be like, one person, I as an individual can make this massive change if I want to.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think the key thing, also like you have to really like micromanage your life too. Like if you want to make a huge difference. Turn the mic off, but because I think a lot of like super successful people, like they take the blame to themselves, right? Like they're always like, yeah, they just like, yeah, I forgot my train of thought. But you
And I
get what
mean,
I'm
I
saying.
think
You get
they're
what I'm saying, yeah.
devoted. Yeah. And like, actually, so I can probably continue on relatively where y'all left off. Like, I saw like a 10-second clip yesterday of a movie where there was this guy who he was like, so you want to be successful? Here's what you do. You have to be willing to, for the next 10 years, sacrifice so much, potentially friends, family. Like, obviously, that's not going to be 100%.
That's too much for me, dude.
Yeah,
That's too
yeah.
much for me.
And yeah, and so like but it's like depending on the level that you want. But if you're somebody who wants to be remembered for, hundreds of years after your death, and like especially nowadays, you're gonna have to create massive change. This isn't the medieval times where you can like win a battle and be remembered for hundreds of years. This is like a lot of people are doing really, really good things, and so you have to create massive, massive change. And like that understanding is like that's why for me it's like I have to be something gigantic. I have to do something gigantic to achieve like that thing that I want to achieve. And so like I think so much of this episode is how do you get to that point? How do you become somebody that people remember? And I think by basic definition, you're going to have to be a fantastic leader. And I think so many people have leadership wrong nowadays because they always talk about empathy, whatever. And the reality is like empathy alone, that's just a common answer, but it's never going to make you a fantastic leader. Like I think there are times where you're going to need to have empathy, but a lot of the world changers, you look at people who have led insane teams who have made insane progress for humanity, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And like these are people who they can be very harsh. And I don't want to be the kind of leader who's like super harsh, but I think there are two things that you should always strive to be, and that's to be feared and be respected. I've talked about Mahendra before, who backed Sprout. He was somebody who you respected the hell out of him, and you feared ever disappointing him, because he would let you know if he was disappointed. And I think that's the thing that you want. You want somebody who isn't afraid to stand up and take a bullet for you, but who's like, they're going to push you to be amazing.
That's an interesting line of thought. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, for me, it's all about like, doing something. Like a lot of the super successful people, like they're all technically strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't get to somewhere just by relying on soft skills.
Yeah.
Or like being like a great talker or a leader. Like I feel like cases like your V, what's his name? Like Grant Armstrong. Oh yeah. God damn. So Grant Cardone. I feel like these guys are pretty rare. Like it's just it's pretty hard to make it like just by talking like that much.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, that's not the kind of legacy that I want to lead. And it's just like, I feel like at some point, like, like it just doesn't cut it. But like, I feel like a lot of their advice is actually really antiquated. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
Like, cause all they fucking talk about is like, you just gotta be patient. You just gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. You gotta fucking grind all day. You gotta work like fucking 24/7. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like they got like Yeah, I guess it worked for them, right? Like Gary Vee fucking bashed his head against his wall for like 20 years and he finally made it, right? Like he was just super patient. But frankly, I think there's better ways to get to where you want to be without going through that whole fucking difficult ass process, right? There's ways
Hmm.
to simplify. You can be more efficient. You can yeah, there's just so many ways to
I agree.
yeah, right? Like you agree with me. Like it's just yeah, it's just life is not all about, you know, grinding stuff. But yeah, yeah, that's fuck. What was I
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, and well, it's like I think making a difference is 100% about providing value to other people, and it's like
Exactly.
Gary Vee, he did it the really slow way of like I'm gonna provide value to this individual, and then this one, and this one, and this one, until like after 20 years it'll be like 3 million people, and they'll tell their friends it'll be like 10 million people, but like I think that's a super slow approach, and like now that we have the internet, it's like I'm 19, and I have affected I don't know hundreds of thousands of people, and it's
Wait,
like
what? That's insane. Yeah. What made you?
and it's like it's like there are people who are younger than me who have affected millions, hundreds of millions of
Kylie
people.
Jenner.
Yeah. But it's just like I think you have to figure out ways that you can provide value, and I know that's like a really cliche thing that everybody says, but it's like find your niche, and like find problems that people have and try to fix them,
Also
try to
just
solve
like
them.
listen to other people, like, you know, like us talking right now, like we are like voicing like our own thoughts on like what we want to leave behind as a legacy in the future, what we want to be in the future. And I think you can I think when you hear other people talk about what they want to be, like I think it reinforces what you want to be, and also it helps you like get a sense of direction. So hearing other people like their thoughts is also super helpful.
Yeah, and I think it's really so. We were actually talking about Peter Thiel earlier because we were talking about the Peter Thiel
Hmm.
fellowship thing. But it's like don't strive to be competitive. It's like strive to dominate an industry. If you think of like space, I guarantee you're thinking of Elon Musk because he dominates the industry. And I think again, depending what you want, but like if you want to be world known or create like massive change to a level that's just ridiculous like that, you have to own the industry. Like you have to be fantastic. And so like I think there are steps you can take. Surround yourself with people who are really good. Surround yourself with experts and be like, if you're a programmer, write some code, build something, go to one of them, be like, okay, now how can I improve this? How can I make this better? Prove it. Go to them again. How can I improve this? Like talk to other people. I think that's one of the fastest ways to learn. And there's a reason that people have internships. You go and you actually learn from other people, and I think that is so valuable. Um, but it's like, yes, you've got to own the industry if you want to get to that kind of level. Like you've got to have a brand of like this person knows what they're talking about. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah. On the line of thought too, I think learning is plays such a huge role in making a difference, right? Because I think a lot of successful people, they know how to learn
Hmm.
efficiently, and they do it quickly and stuff. Like what you're saying, right? Like talking to people, super helpful, right? Like you get like you just get like a fresh perspective on a topic that you like couldn't wrap your mind around before, and it just helps you so much. And that's like one step of the learning process, right? Like, because to me, learning process is like you learn it yourself, you do it yourself, like especially when it comes to code, right? Learn code yourself, start writing code yourself. Once you reach a plateau, which you probably will, and once you like, because I think when you learn by yourself, you formulate your own sort of thoughts on syntax and
Hmm.
you know and the software itself. And then once you talk to someone that's actually better than you, like they give you a whole new fresh perspective on like what you actually need to correct in your line of thinking, and that's like super helpful.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And even like with interview prep, like that we have to do for getting like internship interviews, it's like so many kids just try struggling through the interview prep on their own. And it's like go and find somebody at Google or something who does interviews and be like, hey, can you like walk
And do
me
like
through some
mock interview,
questions or
yeah,
something?
mock interview.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like there's so many things that you can
See,
do.
I think people that make a difference are proactive, really
Hmm.
proactive.
Yeah.
About about getting better, right? Like if they want to get better at something, they are going to make sure that they get better at it.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think something also people need to have confidence in you. If you want to make like crazy change, people need to have confidence. This is something that I I've really tried to make a big part of myself. Obviously, I fail a bunch of times with it, pretty often, quite frankly. But like, I want it to be that if I'm asked to do something, that I'm like doing it pretty reliably. It's like this has led me to really start being more organized on like writing things down when I have tasks. And like there are multiple times where Kevin's like, "Hey, post this," and I like totally forget or don't do it. But
I mean,
like,
that's totally fine. Like, you don't have to like be like super on time and everything, because I
yeah,
think once you get to that point, where you have a shit ton of messages and you have so much shit to do, like it's all about priority. You have to know
hmm
what to prioritize, right? You can't
yeah,
get everything done. You
hmm
can't like have the cake and eat the cake, right? You have to choose one of them,
yeah.
and that's also super important, right? Like, you have to have that time management. You have to have the skills to manage your own life, in that aspect. What do you think of
hmm
that?
Yeah, I agree. But I do think it's like, you have to think about what kind of brand message you're creating. People don't realize the reputation that they're building. And this has been something, especially over the last year, that I've been very, very focused on. And like even more in the last few months of like, what kind of brand messaging am I sending to everyone around me? Am I just like sending them a message that I'm just a regular average kid? Or am I sending a message to them of this kid's something special? He's going to change everything one day. Like that's the kind of brand
Same.
message that I want to send to people. And so I know I'm not going to get there without providing those kinds of
I actually
results.
never think like that. I just think
Yeah.
of if I do something valuable enough, like I think enough people will notice, right? I never
Yeah.
think about like what can I do to make sure other people. Well, I never think about like what other people like think about me when they see my profile or they see or when they talk to me. I just natural,
Yeah. Like
I think.
I think there's a big difference between being caught up in what people think and like wanting people to think a certain way. Like I don't give a shit what people think, but I do want them if I can make them to think
Yeah,
of
I
me a
get that.
certain
Yeah, but
way. Yeah.
I feel like for me, I just have that confidence that like if I have a confidence that based on my current abilities and my current uh portfolio, like, I think people like when they see it, I'm pretty confident they're gonna like me.
hmm
They're gonna
Yeah,
see
yeah,
me
but
search in a good way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I agree. But I think it's like, there are always places to improve. I have like plenty of things on the resume and whatever, but like always trying to like add on the next thing to like completely dominate. Like for sophomores, both of us are kind of honestly pretty impressive as sophomores. And so like, people will look at
That's
us and be
true,
like,
but like
whoa,
when I compare myself to other people out there, like not so impressed.
exactly. And so
I've
it's
actually
like,
met some people that are like super smart, like and they're also like around my age too. It's like insane.
yeah, yeah, it's like
It's
so
like
there's so many levels to climb.
yeah, it's like you think like you've seen the highest mountain, but you haven't, right? Like there's
hmm
always a higher mountain than the one you've seen.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
you got
so
to
like
know
that,
that, like,
yeah, yeah,
and
that's why
having that
it's,
mindset of improvements, knowing that you aren't the best and that you can keep improving and there's still room to grow, like that is super important.
hmm
Because I
yeah,
think, because yeah, because once you think you're the best, like you don't want to learn. You just
exactly. And I think that's why it's so important to like always compete with yourself. It's like, you know, yeah, this is a super cliche thing also is like the whole competing with yourself. But it's like I don't think it's bad to compete with others as well. But it's like there's always going to be somebody who's better than you. But like competing with the who you could be is super motivating. Because like just imagine thinking about like I don't know the world changer that you could be and being like what I'm gonna beat that person. And like
that's what I will say, right? Like you should strive to be better than you are when you are the best.
exactly. Yeah, and this is like what is it, Dwayne Johnson? Like somebody asked him like, "Oh, who's your motivator?" And it's like, "Dude, it's me." It's like I might be at the kind of top right now, but like I'm always competing with myself to try to beat that. Um, and so it's like the wolf climbing the hill is always hungrier than the wolf that's on the hill. So like, be the
Yeah,
one climbing the hill.
100%. Yeah, I think that's a wrap for this episode. We hit a lot of really good points on making a difference. Albeit kind of repetitive. We sort of touch on a lot of the topics we usually talk about in our previous episodes. But I think it's like we always say, right? Like, don't watch every one of our episodes. It just doesn't make sense. Like, watch an episode that you feel is going to be good for you, and make sure to apply the stuff, right? Like, you got to be taking that action. Like, you don't get places by listening to the same stuff over and over and over and over. You
hmm
got to take that action, and yeah, like making a difference is all about providing value. And yeah, you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's just like, same as always. Write down who you want to be, strive to be that person, strive to always compete with that future vision of yourself. You can always get there. And also if people tell you like, oh, one person can't make this much difference, guarantee you they're wrong. I've seen it in person.
Yeah, totally agree. And also make sure to check us out on YouTube, because we also upload the video version of these podcasts on there. And yeah, make sure to give us a review if you like the episode. And we're gonna peace out. See you guys.
Peace.